You know, I was thinking about that trip you took a while back.
Yeah.
I think you said you were just like drowning in plastic waste everywhere you went.
Oh, tell me about it. It was,
Right. It was awful.
well, it turns out Lagos, Nigeria, uh, is really taking that problem head on.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to ban single-use plastics, like, completely.
Wow.
And get this enforcement starts in just 2 weeks.
That's uh that's pretty ambitious.
I know, right? It's a huge deal.
Uh,
Lagos is the biggest city in all of Africa.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So what they do there could really impact the whole world.
Absolutely. And I think that's why this article from Vanguard News caught my eye.
Oh, yeah, it's a
It's
leading Nigerian newspaper.
yeah, a major outlet there, and they really lay out all the details.
That's awesome. So I was reading through it, and it seems like this isn't just about, like, the global plastic problem,
Right.
There's some really local things going on in Lagos, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Lagos has its own set of unique challenges,
Right.
and plastic waste just like amplifies all of them.
Like their drainage systems, for example.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, they get so clogged with plastic that it causes, like, massive flooding during the rainy season.
Oh, wow. So it's like imagine instead of a clogged sink at your house, it's like the whole city backing up.
Exactly. It's a pretty stark visual when you think about it that way.
It is. So this ban, it sounds pretty wide-reaching. What kinds of things are they actually prohibiting?
So they're going after a whole range of single-use plastics. The obvious ones like disposable bags, plastic bottles, straws, things like that.
Right.
But it goes even further.
So, like, if I'm in Lagos and I order takeout, will my food come in something besides plastic?
That's a good question. The article doesn't list every single item,
Sure.
but it seems like they're trying to reduce disposable plastics wherever they can.
Okay.
So biodegradable or reusable alternatives for food packaging, things like that.
Okay. That makes sense. But even with the best of intentions, these bans only work if they're actually enforced.
Absolutely.
So what's the plan in Lagos?
Well, the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, or ALISPA as they call it,
Okay.
they're the ones in charge.
Okay.
So they'll be monitoring businesses, individuals, issuing warnings if they have to, and ultimately they can impose fines for violations.
That's a pretty big job.
Yeah. I mean, Lagos is massive, so making sure everyone complies is going to be a huge undertaking.
That's what I was thinking because we've seen similar bans struggle in other places just because the enforcement wasn't there.
Right.
So how realistic is it to expect that everyone in Lagos is actually going to follow this ban?
That's the million-dollar question, and it seems like they're aware of that challenge.
Okay.
Because the article really emphasizes public awareness campaigns
Big sense.
and getting all the different stakeholders involved.
Right.
So Elizabeth is planning to really educate people about the ban, its benefits, and how to actually comply with it.
Okay.
They're also working directly with businesses to help them transition to more sustainable alternatives. So it's a very proactive approach, and that could be key to making this thing actually work.
Fingers crossed because it sounds like a good plan.
It does, but there are always potential downsides too, unintended consequences.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
We have to consider those.
What are some of the concerns that people have raised?
Well, one big one is that some businesses might just resist the change.
Sure. Especially if it hurts their profits.
Exactly. And then even if you find biodegradable alternatives, those could have their own environmental impacts.
Right. You'd have to be careful about the materials you're using.
Yeah, it's a complex situation, and Alesipa is going to have to be really adaptable and responsive as this ban rolls out.
That's a good point. So, taking a step back from all of this, what would you say are the key takeaways from this deep dive into the Lagos plastic ban?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that Lagos is being really bold here.
Yeah,
They're joining this global movement towards sustainability and taking a big step forward.
they are.
But the success of this ban really comes down to how well they enforce it.
For sure.
Whether the community buys in and how they handle all those potential challenges.
Right, because it's not as simple as just saying no more plastic.
Not at all. It's
Yeah.
a whole process.
It makes you think about the role that cities play in tackling these global issues,
Yeah.
like plastic waste.
Yeah.
This story from Lagos is a great reminder to stay curious. Keep an eye on how this ban plays out and think about what we can do in our own communities.
Absolutely. And it also raises a big question for all of us.
What's that?
How can the cities where we live learn from what Lagos is doing?
Yeah.
What are the unique challenges they might face in tackling plastic pollution?
That's a great point.
These are questions we should all be thinking about, especially as this global plastic crisis continues.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Food for thought, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
My pleasure.
This was fascinating. I'm really interested to see how this all plays out in Lagos.
Me too. I'll be following it closely.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of impact this has, not just locally, but globally.
Yeah, it could be a real game changer.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks again.
Anytime.